All right, everybody. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the order of operations because this is something that people, no matter what age they are, seem to struggle with. And I just want to put a video out there that's going to help people understand it better, hopefully, so we don't make these easy mistakes later on in life and, mess up more difficult problems based on these easy foundations. So, we're going to go over these two things you can see right here, PEMDAS and BODMAS, and then we're going to go over some problems to practice the order of operations that I've been posting to my Instagram story for people to try, and we're going to talk about what went wrong, what went right, and how to actually solve the problem. So, we're talking about PEMDAS and BODMAS. Now, usually when somebody does the order of operations wrong, they like to pull out one of these and say, well, I was taught it this way, right? That's a misconception. There's only one right way to do the order of operations. There's no, oh, I was taught it to do it differently. No, that means you were just taught it incorrectly. That's just as simple as it gets, right? And as it turns out, PEMDAS and BODMAS are the exact same thing. They're just different words. So, PEMDAS, what does that mean? PEMDAS means that we're going to start by solving parentheses first. Oh, I can't even spell. We're going to start with the parentheses, which means if you see something, a quantity contained within parentheses on a problem, you evaluate that first. Any quantity that is not in its simplest form contained within parentheses, we are going to solve first, right? That's what that means. That's all it means, nothing else. Now the E, that stands for exponent. Simply put, if something is to a power, like if you have 2 to the 4th, after you've evaluated all your parentheses, you just simplify those powers. So 2 to the 4th, oh, what is that? It's 16, right? That's it. Just means evaluate your exponents. Now, the next part of PEMDAS are like two chunks, right? We have the MD and the AS. So we'll start with the MD, which means multiply and divide. Here is another place where we have issue. People see multiply, divide, and think that means multiply things first and then divide things. That is not correct. If your teacher taught you this correctly, what they should have said was that you look at your equation and you multiply and divide as the operation appears in the equation from left to right. So you start all the way at the beginning of your equation. If divide shows up first, you divide something, and then say something's being multiplied, you multiply them, right? So the order of multiplying and dividing has nothing to do with the acronym. You simply always just go from left to right. And then the same it can be said for addition and subtraction, which is what A and S stand for. It's that it doesn't mean that you always add first and then subtract. You just do what appears left to right in the equation. So maybe subtraction will show up first, maybe addition will show up first. You just do whatever shows up first from left to right. So now let's look at BODMAS. What is BODMAS, right? BODMAS, the B in BODMAS stands for brackets, right? Which is just another word for parentheses. So I don't need to explain that again. It's the same thing. The next one, order. Order, it's just another word for exponent. That's it. I don't need to explain it again. And again, here's where the problem arises, in that in BODMAS, they put the D before the M in the acronym. So sometimes when people learn BODMAS, they think, oh, I always have to divide first and then multiply. But again, if you were taught this correctly, you would have been taught that you just do what appears first in your equation from left to right. I'm not going to go into that spiel again, we just talked about it. And then again, addition and subtraction. So that's what these acronyms actually stand for. I'm going to one last time run through it, and then we're going to go through some problems, right? So you always evaluate quantities that are in parentheses. Then you evaluate your things that have some kind of order or exponent. You multiply and divide as the operation appears from left to right. And then you add or subtract as the operation appears from left to right. Hopefully, we're all good. I don't know how else to explain it. Now we're going to do some problems, right? Okay, so let's get into the first problem. Our first problem, which we're going to deal with, is 4 divided by 4. Oh, sorry, I already messed up. 4 divided by 2 times 4 minus 2. Now, this is something that I posted to my Instagram story. I gave people 2 options to solve the problem. Try it yourself, and now I'm going to go through it. So, and I'm going to use PEMDAS just because that's what I learned, but again, BODMAS is the same thing. So parentheses, we evaluate what is contained within parentheses. So that's our first step. So we get 4 divided by 2 times, well, 4 minus 2 is 2. Great. Now there's no exponents, so the next step is multiply, divide. And division appears first. This is a problem people have, right? I think what the issue is when people hear parentheses, they think that that means to do whatever is attached to a parenthesis first. No, that's not true. Like I said, parentheses just means evaluate the quantity contained within parentheses. That's it. Do not assume any more. All we have left is divide and multiply. Since divide shows up first from left to right, we do that first. So we get 4 divided by 2 is 2 times 2, which is just 4. And that's it. There was no addition and subtraction outside of any parentheses. Now, I posted this to my story with the answers 1 and 4, because if you do this incorrectly, I could see how you can get 4 if you multiplied before you divided. For anyone who's interested, here, let's put some stats right here. 45% of people thought that the answer was 1, and 55% of people got the correct answer of 4. So now what we're going to do is our next problem, and I think I've got like 4 of these in total. So the next problem. This one's even simpler. 8 divided by 4 times 2. There's nothing to do other than divide and then multiply, right? So let's divide this. 8 divided by 4 is 2 times 2 is 4. Now the options I gave people yet again were 1 and 4. 53% of people got the answer wrong, and 47% of people got the answer right. Now, this next problem, which we're going to do, it's actually really interesting, right? And the reason it's interesting is because it is the exact same problem, and yet the statistics are different. So, we're going to evaluate what is contained within parentheses first. So, 2 plus 2 and 1 plus 1, this gets simplified to 1 divided by 4 times 2. Here, I don't have to put that in parentheses. 8 divided by 4 times 2. Hey, look at that. It's the same problem. So let's do this again. 8 divided by 4 is 2 times 2 is equal to 4. So again, I gave people the options of 1 and 4. 44% of people chose 1, and 56% of people got it right this time with 4. I don't really know what changed. Obviously, there's going to be some slight variations between the people who are actually responding to these stories, but the majority of the time, it's the same people. So I'm not really sure what went on here. I don't know. But we're going to go look at our last problem, and then that's going to be it. So our last problem. 6 divided by 2 times 1 plus 2. As you can see, all these problems have the same structure. There's usually a quantity to solve within these parentheses. And if you've noticed, I think in every situation, I put multiplication after the division because people just still tend to multiply first before they divide for some reason. But anyway, let's evaluate our parentheses. We get 6 divided by 2 times 3. PEMDAS, we're going to go left to right. 6 divided by 2 is 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So I gave people the choice of 1 and 9. 31% of people chose 1, and 69% of people chose 9. So, I mean, that's it. If you disagree with how I did the order of operations, feel free to leave a comment. I didn't do it wrong. You can plug this into any advanced calculator and you'll get the same answers that I did. So, I mean, I hope you learned something, and if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching, and I really appreciate it.